Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Dr. Steve Schultz. I want to welcome you to another episode of Dental Practice Freedom Radio. Thank you so much for tuning in. And today we are going to piggyback off of some of the things that I talked about on the last episode, which was all about stagnation. And today we're going to touch base on what I call the comfort zone. And it's very similar to stagnation in a lot of ways, but sometimes it's comfortable and sometimes it's uncomfortable, but it's a normal operating procedure. And I wanted to give you some examples that further illustrate this comfort zone concept and what you can do to make sure that you don't fall into a quote unquote comfort zone. On the last episode, I talked a lot about, when you approach stagnation and you start to feel a little bit stuck. One of the things that I do is I actually go and read things that are unrelated to the subjects that I've been studying, because I know that that's going to open up my mind to new connections, new ways of thinking, and then I can bring it back to what I'm working on. But another thing that can happen that I see a lot, and honestly, the last 6 months, some of you guys know, there's some things that are happening on a professional level for me, also a personal level, but a professional level that I'm not able to explain everything right now, but just know that I've gotten into a routine that I would consider a quote unquote comfort zone. And it's really been actually anything but comfortable, but it's a normal operating procedure for me. And I want to talk about some of the negative consequences of that, because this goes back to that stagnation thing I was talking about. So before I go any further, just understand that to me, a comfort zone is a normal operating procedure or protocol that you go through on a daily basis to try to achieve certain results. And sometimes a comfort zone is just what it sounds like. It's a comfort, right? It's I get up, I drink my cup of coffee, I go to work, I do the 9 to 5 thing in my office, I come home, I have a glass of wine, I spend time with my family, I go to bed, I repeat the cycle. Now, whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, it actually doesn't matter. What does matter is that it's a normal operating procedure. You pretty much do everything habitually. Now, those habitual behaviors are what I consider to be a comfort zone if they are or are not getting you a result. Now, there's certain things that are probably beneficial that you should keep. A morning routine would be a great example. The successful clients that I've worked with, and when I am achieving my best, I know I have a normal morning routine that I get up, I do a certain thing, I get in the right mindset, and I can start my day. Because I've been traveling a lot and going a lot of places, that has actually been a little bit derailed, and that can affect my productivity and the things that I do. And so, we're always used to, hearing the comfort zone kind of like, okay, I've just been doing the same thing over and over and over again. That could be comfort. There's another flip side where sometimes you get into uncomfortable patterns, like, I'm not sleeping enough, I've been traveling a lot, I'm focused on this and this and this, and it's not really working, but it's still a routine and I'm actually still comfortable being uncomfortable. Okay. Both of those things could be very detrimental to you achieving some of the things you want to achieve. So I want to give you a personal example of what I've been finding going through what I call the comfort zone now for the last year, traveling as much as I have, even though it's been anything but comfortable, and what has happened as a result of some of that and how I intend to break that in the future. So you guys know that I've been kind of bouncing between 2 states to actually practice. I'm in North Carolina and I'm in Philadelphia. Now, I know other doctors that have done this. It's actually a little bit more common than I originally anticipated when I started to do this. So I've been practicing more in North Carolina than I have in Philly, but I'm trying to establish more roots in Philly and working out of the practice, that I'm working out of and trying to develop that side of things. That takes some time. And then I also have coaching. And so I got into a routine. I'm pretty regimented in the routine. But here was what I was finding. And I can't share too much about what's going to happen until it officially happens, but just know that I'm getting up and I'm working in North Carolina Monday to Tuesday, and I have somebody come in and work in my North Carolina office on Wednesday. I'm now in Philadelphia on Wednesday. I practice pretty much every Wednesday. I'm even doing some kind of odd jobs to continue to just kind of stay busy on the clinical side as I'm trying to establish myself here in Philadelphia, in addition to North Carolina. So, Monday, Tuesday, I'm working in my practice in North Carolina. Wednesday, I'm working in Philly. Then I'm trying to do some coaching things and develop some coaching programs for my clients, and what that looks like, really trying to grow that side of what it is I do because I'm so passionate about it. But that day-to-day routine was becoming very normalized for me, actually. I would know exactly which flights to hop on. The TSA agents, you kind of get in a routine. That was what I was considering my comfort zone. Now, here is the detrimental part about being in that comfort zone. I was finding my productivity was incredibly drained. Even though I didn't necessarily feel like I lost motivation, what happened was that routine was negatively impacting my practice in North Carolina because I wasn't able to do exactly what I wanted to do. It was also affecting my ability to practice up here in Philadelphia because by the time I get here, I'd be tired. I'd have to reorient myself. I wasn't eating as well as I'd like to. My sleep pattern was way off. And then as a result, I didn't have the energy to coach. And so you might be asking, well, what are you doing to change that? First, I had to be cognizant and aware of it. Most people are not aware of it. They're not aware of how that habitual way of doing things is either moving them towards their goals or away from their goals. And so when I started to look at it, I had to get very honest with myself and say, well, I know a lot of people don't travel that much, but what are some things that I could be doing to really impact how I manage this? And I thought about professional athletes, and I thought about people that travel all the time. And what I was starting to find out is like professional athletes are one thing, but I see a lot of entrepreneurs, you guys probably see this too. They're traveling all the time. They're talking about their laptop lifestyle and, going through airports and going all over the place and working with clients. I will tell you, I was putting myself in a situation where I wasn't getting anything done. And so it might look cool. It might, like, oh yeah, this looks great, but the productivity wasn't there. And so my practice in North Carolina was lagging because I wasn't putting as much effort into the practice to develop the practice the way that I've developed it in the past and continue to work on it, which means that the patients aren't getting my best. Then in Philadelphia, I'm kind of burnt out by the time I get up here, and then I might be able to put a little bit of effort. Then I got to hop on coaching, and my coaching clients aren't necessarily always getting my best. Although, I really do try to put my best foot forward with my clients, but I'm very hard on myself. And so even though my clients are getting results, I start to look at that. Well, how do I do it better? How do I make it better? Because these clients are trusting me to be able to put my best foot forward and put all bit of knowledge that I have into what it is that I do so they can also get results. And so I had to take a step back and actually look at what I was doing. And is this beneficial for everyone? And the answer I came to is, even though it was now a comfort zone for me, getting that travel schedule right and doing this and doing that, it wasn't leading to increased productivity. And in fact, it wasn't even just productivity for productivity's sake. It was, I didn't feel like I was giving my best to anyone. And like I said, I think any coach that would say, well, you know what, I always give my best to clients and they're getting everything that I got. If you do have multiple things that you're doing and you're a coach, and I believe that the best dental coaches that I've ever worked with also are practicing dentists in some capacity because they understand the stress of practice ownership. Now, I've learned a lot of things from coaches outside of dentistry to, some of the best mentors I've had that were non-dental coaches taught me so much about sales and mindset and building a successful business that I don't want to poo-poo anybody that's a coach that isn't a dentist. But from a dental practice standpoint, being a dentist gives me unique insight into what it's like to run a dental practice, which allows me to relate better to my clients. And so I understood kind of what most of my clients have experienced at some level. When you start to do so many things that you're losing touch with the main thing. And I had to be brutally honest with myself and say, well, what is the main thing that I'm trying to accomplish here? And it's really simple. It's do more complete care for the patients that I do serve, with an emphasis on TMJ and airway focused dentistry and approaching the whole system. And then on the client side, it's understanding who my client is that I'm trying to serve and best serve them. And anything that isn't in relation to those two things, I have to get kind of ruthless with and say, okay, how do I do this different? And to make a long story short, this comfort zone that I was in was not allowing me to best do those two things: serve my patients at the highest level and serve my clients at the highest level. In my ideal, what I view as possible. And so I had to start to look at, how do I get uncomfortable, do things that are going to push me again, but do it in a way that allows me to keep my sanity. And so I will tell you, one of the things that I've been working on right now, and this is almost like when you say stuff, you have to do it on a podcast because people listen to this, believe it or not. One is eating a lot healthier. One is getting back to making sure that exercise is a regular routine and actually doing it, not just saying it. Starting to look at foods that make me feel better, foods that make me not feel better, alcohol, just a lot of things that I'm in control of. That's going to put me in a better mindset and frame of mind to be able to work on some of these other things. And so when you start to get into a comfort zone or a rut, to me, it felt like a rut. Like I wasn't doing what I want to be doing and I was stuck. And it goes back to that stagnation thing. So I was starting to open my mind to what was, what's possible. And then I was starting to look at, what are the things that are currently getting me stuck? And travel routine is one. And I'm working on it. And hopefully by the next podcast episode, I'll be able to share some enlightening news as to some of the other things that I'm doing to get out of the comfort zone. But then it's things that I can control that I know are going to have a direct impact on me feeling better, so that I can have a much clearer mind when it goes to making big decisions regarding my coaching, regarding my practice, regarding what I want, regarding how I envision living my life and helping the people that I serve. And that would be my suggestion to you, is if you're feeling stuck, this is a big one. If you're feeling stuck, I encourage you, take a step back and start to look at habitual things that you're doing and ask yourself a very simple question. Is this serving me? Is this helping me achieve some of these big goals that I'm setting? And the reality is, if they are not, you do have to ask yourself the question, am I committed enough, or am I making a decision to eliminate these from my life? And some you might say yes, and some you might say no. And, there's certain things that probably are not moving me directly towards my goals, but I wouldn't eliminate them. But there's things that I was finding habitually that I thought was the norm for me, because I'm like, oh yeah, I'm traveling a lot and I'm doing this and I'm doing that, that I started to analyze the things that I'm doing habitually and not even thinking about it, and realizing that's part of my comfort zone. And it's not even just not helping me move towards my goal. In fact, because I'm stagnated, I'm moving further away from my goal. And I'm going to tell you, that can happen a lot. In fact, it happens all the time, because we kind of course correct as we're moving towards our goals. Sometimes we get closer, sometimes we get farther away. We're like a heat-seeking missile that we know where we want to go, but sometimes we're going to move right and we should have moved left, and then we compensate. And that's a normal process. If you're talking to somebody and they're like, oh yeah, every morning I wake up and I know exactly what to do and I'm perfect and everything's great, that's not a human, right? Like, that's a robot. And anybody that tells you differently, oh, I got everything figured out and everything's perfect, probably is not being honest with you. And if you think you have everything figured out, you're probably not being honest with yourself, right? And I was tricking myself into believing that what I was doing is it's normal and it's moving me towards my goals. But when I really started to break down and analyze it, I realized like some of these things that I'm doing on a daily basis are not moving me towards my goals. And that's okay because I've become aware of that and I'm course correcting. And I would encourage you, if you're a practice owner and you're looking and you're kind of stagnating, start to analyze what are the things that I take for granted or things that I do on a daily basis that I think are habitual, but might actually be preventing me from moving where I want to go. And then you have to be ruthless with that question. Is this serving me? Am I able to entertain new thoughts that can challenge me, help me grow, help me develop, and help me move closer to these things that I say that I want? Because if you're not willing to do that, you're probably going to get more of the same, right? If you've been doing the same thing for 5 years and it's not working, chances are if you do it for another 5 years, it's probably also not going to work, right? If you're in a part of your practice right now where you are struggling to do more complete care, maybe you want to move towards a more wellness-based model, you want to do more dentistry for your patients, but you're stuck in kind of a trap and you keep doing the same thing. You say, well, I need to do this because of this. That might be a comfort zone for you. You might not be willing to challenge yourself enough to get out of that comfort zone. And so just expect more of the same. And I had to be very brutally honest with myself. I'm like, if I keep doing what I'm doing, I'm going to continue to get what I'm getting. And if I'm not getting exactly what I want to get, I need to start to look at what are the things that I can change to help me better serve my clients, help me better serve my patients, help me better serve my life, my well-being in general. And probably on the next episode, by the time I talk to you guys again, I'm going to talk about some more of the things that are happening in my life. Maybe you want to hear that, maybe you don't. I don't know. But I think it helps you guys be able to understand that you're not alone in this journey. As a practice owner, there's things that are always changing. And you just have to be aware enough to ask yourself some questions on a continual basis. Is this working for me? What do I need to course correct on? And maybe there's simple little tweaks. They're not big things. And maybe it is eating a little bit better, or maybe it is establishing a better morning routine. Maybe it is a social media habit, whatever the case may be, right? You've got to be aware to understand that if you aren't getting where you want to go, take a step back, analyze your comfort zone. What are the things that I'm doing on a daily basis? What are my habitual patterns? Are they serving me or are they not serving me? If they're not serving me, what do I replace them with to better serve me towards these goals, and then pursue it? So I will see you guys at the next episode. Hopefully on the next one, I got some big news to share that I'm really super excited about. And it's going to change a lot of the things that I'm doing. And I'm just pumped for it. I'm drawing energy every day as it gets closer. And I can't wait to share that with you guys. And until then, I'll see you at the next episode. Thanks so much for tuning in. If you guys can do me a huge favor, if you get value out of this podcast, I encourage you to leave me a review or a rating. That means the world to me. If you guys are ready to, kind of step out of your comfort zone and say, maybe there's this dentistry that I've been wanting to do for a long time. I've listened to your podcast. I understand that you're wellness-based. You really take your patients through a complete process. I want to be able to emulate that in my practice. I want to be able to do that successfully. I encourage you to reach out. There's a coaching link in the bio where you can set up a free call with me. Literally, we'll break down what your practice is like, what you're working on, what you want to accomplish. If I can help you, great. If not, at least you'll have somebody that you can share what your struggles are right now, what you're going through, what you're trying to accomplish. And I'm there for you 100% of the way. I know practice ownership's not easy. But I also know that there's some amazing things that we could be doing for our patients. You just need to take that initiative, step out of the box, be yourself, grow your practice the way that you want to grow it, and people will come. So with that being said, you guys take care. I'll see you at the next episode.